What about the next review?
I talked about it a little bit a few weeks ago. A medieval VR. Um, this was a game I picked up mostly because I wanted to know if they solved the issue that a lot of these low res, like low def games have typically in VR. When things are like weird like this and like low poly and stuff, it can get real disorienting and sick in VR. So I was curious if they did anything new. Um, and they really has anyone played just a medieval
Yeah.
proper?
Yeah.
Okay, this is the same game, but
Okay.
they did rebuild it from the ground ups to be specifically for VR. So it's the same game, but they like rebuilt it. So it's not just like the Half-Life 1 where they like took Half-Life 1 and put it in VR and it's nauseating at
Mm.
times. I was genuinely surprised at how well this plays in VR.
Hmm.
It's fast. It's not particularly disorienting. It has a good sense of depth. Like uh, it's not like like how Quake
Hmm.
and stuff like or like in some of these boomer shooters where it's still like the uh everything feels like it takes place on a flat surface no matter what. Like even like when you play like old Doom and stuff where everything's like a cardboard cutout that like rotates with you and stuff. Um it's really interesting playing a boomer shooter like this that like has a legitimate sense of
Hmm.
depth to it and like legitimate aiming and things, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's it's so weird. It's I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care too much about a medieval all that much. I don't think the aesthetics really that exciting for the most part, but and that's really what all of these games kind of have going for them is like what's the aesthetic like for like
Mm-hmm.
is it hell, is it demons, is it whatever. Like this one's just kind of like a weird um heavy metal kind of aesthetic,
Okay.
I
I like
like
that.
in a
Okay.
way.
Heavy metal. All right.
Yeah, but like aesthetically it just doesn't do it for me, but gameplay wise it's really good and it's really fun in
Here,
VR.
here's a.
If you have
Yeah. Go ahead.
access to a VR headset, this is one of the better first person shooters you can play
Oh wow.
on VR. Well,
High
there's not a
praise.
lot. There's
Yeah.
not a lot. Like
Well, there's not a
most of
lot
the
for a
ones,
reason because they always make
yeah,
you sick.
yeah. And this one was interesting because out the gate, it didn't have teleport, which
Hmm.
is really common for almost any first person shooter
Mm-hmm.
game. Like Doom VFR was teleport, and then like the secondary option was natural movement. Now I don't get sick in VR typically. Um, but some games have made me sick when they're poorly optimized. This one's really well optimized and it's very smooth. The movement's very smooth. I
Gotcha.
typically don't do the ratcheting turn radius and teleporting and stuff if I don't have to. So
What do you play
yeah,
this on?
Quest 2.
Okay. So I would. I'm gonna throw this out there. If you have access to both the regular 2D version, I guess, and then this VR version, which would you, if someone hasn't played a medieval, which would you have them play first?
I would still have him play the original one.
Okay.
This one's more of a novelty. It feels like
Got
at
it.
the end of the
Got
day,
it.
like it's really well done. They did a really good job with it. Uh, but like uh, it, it doesn't gain anything by being in VR.
Ah, okay.
It's not like Resident Evil, like where they added a VR version, like uh, on top of like the normal game. Like this
Sure.
is the same kind of concept where it's like this is a pre-existing game that we added a VR version to. Resident Evil actually gains something by being in VR. It's scary and stuff. This is just a fun, silly novelty, and I like it. They did a
Awesome.
good job on it. They put care into it. They didn't just like do a quick, get it out the door kind of thing. So,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
like I appreciate that. I respect that. If you have a VR headset, like it's definitely worth your time. I don't think it's worth necessarily playing through the game again.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I think if you're gonna play a medieval VR, or a medieval in general, the vanilla version's the way to go. But if you just want a new VR game that's kind of fun and plays really well, you could there's few that will do it as good as this one, I think. So
Awesome.